Hey you guys, this is Allison. I'm hanging out in my space to craft, and I had some scraps left over from the last page that I did. It was a 2-page layout, but here's one of them. So I used a bunch of 6x6 papers. I had some scraps. I cut them down to 1/2-inch strips. I'm just going to cut a card base real quick. We'll do a standard A2 card. Put that together in just a minute. And then I cut this so that it is a 1/4 inch smaller than a standard A2. It's a different paper. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a slightly different color, but it's going to be completely covered, so I don't care. And I'm probably going to trim it down another 1/4 inch so that I can put a piece of solid cardstock behind it as a mat. So what I thought I would do is do a quilted kind of look. I have done this a time or two before. I can't really remember how I did it, but this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to, and if it doesn't come out good, it doesn't come out good, but I'm going to glue my first piece down, try and optimize the length of it, because some of these they are different lengths. So I'm just going to glue this down as a starting point. And I'm not going to start in the middle because I don't want that sort of herringbone pattern to go straight down the middle. So I'm starting here. And then I'm going to take one of these and it will just fit there. So we're just gonna start it and see where it goes. Sometimes it's good to just have a play. Now I just want to make sure that I'm putting it someplace that it's going all the way to the edge. And I'm not leaving space between these. You can choose to do that. I am choosing not to. So I do have a couple of longer pieces, but I think I will save those for a few minutes. And when you do this, then you can cut off and have another piece. So you can make pretty good use of the scraps. So I've sped the rest of this quilting process up just to about 2.5 times speed because it takes a little while. So if you notice, I'm just alternating one direction and then the other direction. And if you do that, it will create a natural stair step, if you will, and offset those. I did end up messing up at one place in here. I don't exactly remember where, but I noticed it after the card was made, but you really can't tell. So if you try doing this with some scraps, don't stress about it. Nothing really shows. And there are other ways to mask any issues also. You could ink all of these to mask any imperfections in the cuts. You could leave space between them, you know, and a little bit of space. That gives you, and then you probably use fewer strips if you do that. And you can also put it in an embossing folder to create more texture to it. And that would also serve to hide any, oh, this is where I messed up. That should have gone long ways and not that way, I think. No, that looks correct. Anyway, so I just go through the process. I trim them off periodically so that I have the shorter pieces to use again to fill out the rest of the card. And I'm just having to play with it to figure out what will fit where. And spoiler alert, I had just enough. I think I had one little 2-inch piece left over by the time I was finished with this. So this type of 6-inch paper pad is perfect for this kind of project, especially if you've done a page or you've used them to mat photos and things like that, and especially two-sided ones, because it just gives you just a really great variety of different things to use. And they all coordinate because they're from the same paper pad. So here I'm starting to worry that I might not have enough, but I do. So I've got one little spot there at the bottom that is going to need something. Here I'm just looking for what might fit there. And I probably end up cutting that off when I cut off my extra 1/4 of an inch at the end for the matting, but that's okay. It's also very relaxing to do this. And you just see it coming together piece by piece. So just trying to figure out what will fit where. And I'm just trying to make sure that I don't have the same patterns too close to each other. And part of doing that is getting them to go in different directions when you use them. But not necessarily in a pattern. So you don't alternate. You can do it in a pattern, but I kind of like the randomness, the slightly intentional randomness, you know. So just one little, I have one tiny corner up there that I have to find something, and those little tips that I cut off are perfect for it. And then one more, a couple more here. And I'll just do the last little bit with hearts. And it's best if you wait until your glue is pretty dry before you do this cutting off, because it will cut better that way. All right, and now I'm going to select a piece of yellow paper, another scrap. Just trying to figure out what color I want in the background. And I think I want to keep it happy, so I go for the yellow. This is a sentiment. It's got a ready-made sentiment that was on Paper Rose paper. And so I'm just taking a look at that, and now I'm going to go off and find a scrap. I don't think it takes me too long. I keep the scraps right next to my desk. And I have that, but do I use that one? Okay. This was starting to get, you can see it's starting to get a little bit wrinkled in my scrap bin. Because it's not really a scrap, it's a 12 by 12 piece of paper. But I decided it's time to cut into it, start using it up. It's been in my stash for a long time. And then I do take my distress tool to it just a bit, and it's to give it that little bit of a distressed old quilt look to it. I do take that to the quilted panel also, but I'm not very aggressive about it because I really didn't want to tear off too much. So I'm just doing a small trim so that you can see some of that yellow on the edge. And I am doing it all around, and it helps even out the edges as well if you have where there's any unevenness from the little strips of paper. So I'm keeping it pretty small, and it's really just to tie it all together. So I do this, but just to give it a slightly aged feel. I was not very aggressive with this. And we're about to go into real time for finishing up that sentiment and a closer look. All right. And we're going to pop this up, and we're going to fishtail banner this. This is one of the sentiments that I got off my Paper Rose rainbow wood grain. Perfect. And I don't think this card needs much else. What do you guys think? That's very cute. So, used up all my little scraps, and there wasn't much left. Thanks for watching, you guys.